more. She's going to be, she'll suffer injury. You're going to feel a lot more emotional attachment to her as you protect her through her trials and tribulations. And it's a prequel rather than a sequel. It's the young life of Lara Croft before she became a Tomb Raider. And I'll just finish off with a little trailer of what the new Lara Croft is going to look like.
Laura once said that the extraordinary is in what we do, not who we are. I finally set out to make my mark, to find adventure, but instead, adventure found me. In our darkest moments, when light flashes before us, we find something that keeps us going. Something that pushes us. And I knew what I must become.
So that's the new Tomb Raider coming out in autumn this year. I'll just talk a little bit about creativity in terms of what I think the creative industry is needed for it to be successful, especially the digital content. I call it 5P. Perception, we've got to raise the perception of the creative industries. By that I mean it needs to be embraced by government and the media as being a real industry. So often it's being described as a sort of fluffy business run by lobbyists and doesn't have any real tangible content of value. And yet, for me, it's the most important thing that's going to drive the digital economy going forward. Pipes, I mean high-speed broadband. We need a high-speed broadband infrastructure where content creators can deliver their content to consumers globally. Pounds, I mean pounds sterling, access to finance, help possibly through production tax credits for content companies, certainly to get investors and banks and finance institutions to understand the value of the content we create. Just because it's digital doesn't mean to say it's not real. It's more than real, in fact. It's the way we're going to build the future. Property, I mean intellectual property, not just preventing piracy, but creating and retaining ownership of intellectual property so you can build real value in your own companies, not necessarily games. And people, I mean a skilled workforce is able to create that content and it's the combination of art and technology in games, and particularly that makes the incredible content that we create. And in educational terms, in the UK, we've often made children choose between science and technology, when we should go back to sort of the Renaissance way of education, that polymath approach of combining the two, so you have an understanding of art if you're a scientist, and you have an understanding of science if you're an artist, because you're going to be working together in teams to create content. Because we're not just relying on our sort of strength to create goods anymore, we're creating goods in the new world order through code. The new language of manufacturing is computer programming. It's code to create content for the digital future. And I was asked last year by the Culture Minister, Ed Vasey, to write a report on the skills for the games industry and the visual effects industry. And you can download a copy from nesta.org.uk. We looked at the whole of the education system. We looked at the whole talent pipeline. We looked at universities, because so many universities that had games in their title were actually teaching students about the philosophy of making games, the sort of social relevance of games, but they weren't giving them the hard skills necessary to make them. We need computer programmers, and we need artists, we need animators. We need to move to a more sort of vocational approach in these trying times, to have real skills for the new economy, the new industries coming through. And we found that the problem was a result of an education system at schools that failed children, in that we were teaching them ICT, information communication technology, which was simply teaching them how to use applications but not how to make applications. Back in the 80s we had the BBC Micro, the cornerstone of computing in schools. We had the Sinclair Spectrum in the homes, an affordable, programmable computer, where children were able to create content, giving them digital building blocks to inspire them to want to do computer science as they grew older and going into universities. And this is absolutely shocking state that computers had actually been locked down, and we were turning off children for life from technology. We were effectively teaching them how to read, but not to write. We let them use technology. They had no idea of how technology was made. And so the number one recommendation in our Next Gen report was to bring computer science into the school's national curriculum as an essential discipline. And I'm delighted to say that the Secretary of State for Education, Michael Gove, announced in a speech last week at BET that they're going to withdraw the current programme of study of ICT this September from the curriculum and replace it with a curriculum that will have computer science at its heart. So I'm delighted that that's actually taken place. It's perhaps the most radical statement from a Secretary of State for Education that's been heard in many a year, but hopefully it'll help carry our not just the games industry, but all creative digital industries, because it's not just about games. It's computer science, computer code touches everything we do in this world today. And it's not just about the creative digital industries, it's relevant to financial services, fighting cybercrime, designing a jet propulsion engine. We need more computer coders. So that's my little mission. So I hope you enjoyed today. Delighted to answer any questions later on, and thank you very much.